I wasn't expecting the video I posted a few days ago to become outdated immediately, but here we are. So this information is courtesy of Digimon Re-Arise, an official Digimon game by Bandai Namco in which the 5 original Digidestin's Digivolution lines have all been revealed. Now, I already covered the 4 Sovereigns, but now we're going to cover Maki. So Maki's Digivolution line consists of Tapramon, Monochromon, Megadramon, and Machinedramon. And I have to say, I'm really not digging this line, and I personally prefer the line that I came up with in my speculation video. So this is the part of the video where I'm just going to go over the 5 original Digidestin's Digivolution lines and just go over my opinions. So we've already covered Maki and the 4 Sovereigns, so if you don't want to listen to my opinions on these Digivolution lines, you can basically click off now. So let's start with Maki's line. Now, in my speculation video, I was really happy with the Digivolutions that I chose. Now, something that kept coming up, people kept commenting this over and over again, is why did I not choose Fanglongmon as Maki's Mega Digivolution since, you know, it's a Sovereign? And the reason for that is because Fanglongmon is a fusion of the 4 Sovereigns. Fanglongmon is not a natural Digivolution, is not a natural standalone Digivolution of anything. It is a fusion of all 4 Sovereigns into one Digimon. It is why it has more Digicores and is in the middle. So that is why Maki's Digivolution is not Fanglongmon. Now the Digivolution that I went with was Tapramon, Airdramon, Megadramon, and Goldramon, and you can check my speculation video as to why I thought that. And I just don't understand why they went with Monochromon and Machinedramon. Like, I know we never saw Machinedramon in Digimon Tri, but it just feels kind of lame to recycle one of the major antagonists as the Digivolution for a different Digimon. Like, I guess that kind of already happened in Digimon 2020, so it's not a massive problem, but I would have preferred something that is more unique, you know, something that makes her Digivolution line stand out more, but, you know, this was just kind of disappointing and uninteresting. And also, the theme of the Digivolution is so weird because the thing that Tapramon and Megadramon have in common is that they both have these helmets and are these legless creatures, which is why I went with Airdramon and Goldramon. And the funny thing is in Digimon Re-Arise, this Digivolution line kind of exists, except the rookie form is Betamon. So all you had to do was replace Betamon with Tapramon, and you would have had a much better Digivolution line. I really don't like the one that they went with. It's really boring and disappointing. So as for Daigo's line, someone made a kind of interesting comment that Daigo's line might be a reference to the Wizard of Oz, because there's a thing called, you know, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and that is exactly Daigo's line. There's a lion, there's a tiger, and there is a bear. And I think that Daigo's line is probably the least terrible out of all of them, because there's at least some visual similarities with, you know, Bearmon, Grismon, and Bihumon, and someone also brought up because Bihumon is supposed to be the element of steel, that it kind of makes sense that it digivolves from a metal lion. My only problem is that it keeps changing its species. Like, it starts as a bear, then becomes a metal lion, and then becomes a tiger. Like, those really only have very vague connections, and the best one I could, you know, find was just that Wizard of Oz reference. But I personally would have liked to see something more original than what we ended up getting. I'm also thinking of maybe posting another video where I'll just design my own Digivolution line for the original Digidestin, because I think that might be fun. So moving on to a Zoolongmon, and actually, you know what? Looking at this again, I can't decide if I dislike this one more or if I dislike Maki's more. I think the biggest offense of Maki's line is that it's just kind of boring, this Digivolution line is just really stupid. So there's Zoolongmon, Tuskmon, Triceramon, and a Zoolongmon. Now, the problem I have with this line is Tuskmon and Triceramon. Like, in what, like, do you look at Tuskmon and are like, yeah, that becomes a Zoolongmon? Like, no. First, no, do you look at Zoolongmon and say, yeah, that becomes Tuskmon? No, you don't. There's like no connection between the two. Like, Zoolongmon has a connection to a Zoolongmon because it has a similar color palette and a similar element in electricity, but Tuskmon is like nothing. It is so dumb. Like, Triceramon has a vague connection in that it's sort of like a dragon species Digimon. So, you know, there's some connection to a Zoolongmon, but otherwise Tuskmon and Triceramon do not make sense in this Digivolution line at all. Now, I brought up just a second ago I might redesign my own Digivolution line, and something that I would go with if I design this Digivolution line is the rookie form would be like a koi fish, because there's actually a myth, which is the myth of a koi fish climbing up a waterfall to become a dragon, which is actually what Magikarp is based on, which is why it becomes, you know, a Gyarados. So if I design this Digivolution line, I would sort of have like a koi fish that sort of slowly morphs into a dragon until becoming a Zoolongmon, because I think that that would be a lot more interesting. But yeah, I think this is actually my least favorite Digivolution line. It's so dumb. I don't even know why they decided to go with this. The next one is Zuchomon. So people kept, you know, yelling at me about my pronunciation, okay? Like, if it was supposed to be Zuchomon, they could have just, like, C-H-O-W, okay? Like, I'm sorry I didn't look up the pronunciation. Okay, I'll pronounce it right from now on. So Zuchomon's line is Muchomon, Akatorimon, Hippogriffomon, and Zuchomon. Now, I don't have a problem with this Digivolution. The first reason being that there's actually not a lot of original Red Bird Digimon outside of, you know, Biyomon and Birdramon. But at the same time, it is still kind of weird. Like, Muchomon and Akatorimon don't really have any fire elements, and visually, outside of the fact that they're all birds, they don't have a lot of common themes that make sense going into Zuchomon. And I kind of just wish they went with something more original. But I'm very happy that I ended up getting it right in my speculation video, as I've said before. But this is probably my personal favorite of the lines, just because I have a bias about being right. The last one is Ebonwumon. So I want to apologize for pronouncing it Kamemon. It's actually Kamemon, but I was pronouncing it Kamemon because I watched Digimon Data Squad, and that's how I learned to pronounce it. So it's actually Kamemon, because that's how you sort of pronounce turtle in Japanese. So it's Kamemon, Dinohumon, Orochimon, and Ebonwumon. And this one has some similarities, because what they were trying to go for was a sort of water turtle theme, which kind of sticks throughout, because Kamemon has a, you know, water-based abilities. I don't know if Dinohumon has any water-based abilities, because Dinohumon is supposed to be the Digivolution of Kotemon, or Kotemon, I don't know. So I guess it sort of looks like Kamemon, but otherwise I just have no idea why it's here. But this is probably one of the less offensive Digivolution lines. So if I'm going to rank my favorite Digivolution lines for the original Digidestin, my favorite... Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think my favorite line out of all of these would actually be Ebonwumon's line, because I like that they kept a sort of turtle water theme, and while, you know, Dinohumon is sort of weird, it still sort of keeps a similar color palette, aesthetic, and theme. So I think that's my personal favorite line. My second favorite line is Zuchomon, because it keeps a red bird theme throughout, and also I was correct in my speculation video, and that will always make me happy. My third favorite is Daigo's line, and while I think that the Wizard of Oz reference is a bit of a stretch, I think that it's still, you know, I think it's a very interesting and cool observation, so that would make it my third favorite. My fourth favorite is Maki's Digivolution line, and I'm using the word favorite very loosely here, because it's really disappointing and kind of boring, but it's still a million times better than a Zoolongmon's line, because why does VElecmon become dinosaurs and then becomes an electric dragon? Like, I don't see the process here. It's so dumb. So that's my ranking of the original Digivolutions. If you actually listened to my opinions, thank you. I don't know why you did, because I'm dumb, but thank you for watching. I promise that this is the last time I'm ever going to make this video.